The starter code begins with compile SDK 34, and if you try to build by pressing that hammer icon, and you will get an error. Okay, so I need to sync now, okay, because I just changed the file, the build Gradle Kotlin script. So it should be building, and it's hidden. The progress bar is hidden. Sync now. There we go. So then you will get an error, and the error will tell you to upgrade the compile SDK to a higher number. Maybe the error will be generated when, yes, that's the error that I was trying to show you. Okay, so building apparently doesn't go far enough, but if you try to run it, then you will see this error. So that's what the error that I want to show you. And if I change that to 35 and I run again, and then sync first, of course, and then run. So let me show you the step. I do have these files not on a package. I do want to move them to a package. So then the way to do it is just you create a new package there by right-click on the package name, the original package name, and now I'm going to call this sub-package views, and now I have the views, and I can just drag my file into that package and then just confirm. Then just move all of them. So from the names of the screens, you can guess that I'm trying to replicate our game using a different UI components. Okay, so I have those files moved to a different package now. Just to confirm that it's still compiling without any problem, I just press Control R. Control R should recompile and run again. Yes, okay. So the same output that you had earlier. So now adding the top bar, I do want to start here. I do want to start with the scaffold. So if you hover your mouse over scaffold, then you can see one of the options, one of the arguments, I should say, one of the arguments of a scaffold, because scaffold is just a function, is a top bar. So that's what I'm going to use. And the second one that I'm going to use today is the bottom bar. Okay? And you can see both of them are composable, right? They are lambda, composable lambda. So let's start first with adding the top bar. Okay, and just prepare that for now. And while I'm here, and I will put the bottom bar as well, but with no content, okay? And then after that, I'm going to use the component. The component is TopAppBar. I just type TO. I'm letting Android Studio to autocomplete. So I'm going to be using that. TopAppBar. Okay, and again, if you look at the documentation, the first argument is a title, which is also composable. Okay, and if you hover your mouse, it tells you you have to opt in the experimental material 3 API. Just click that, and no error, but of course you're not going to see anything. Okay, so then in order to see something on your top bar, let's just put some text. Okay, let's now recompile. Okay, so yes, we see the app bar is there, automatically added at the top. Okay, now just to show you different kind of top bar. There's another one called centered align top bar. I just type C, and I let Android Studio autocomplete for me. Centered align top bar, And the difference between top bar and center align, the title will just centered. Okay, so that's one of them. Okay, so I know it's not in your handout, but sometimes many apps, many modern apps, you also see some icon. The icon is like the action, what you want to do from that page, right? So now let's say that this will be the main landing page of your app, and I want to put an icon for the user to log out. And if you hover your mouse over the center aligned top bar, you will see that one of the argument is actions. So action is again a composable. Okay, so let me hover your mouse again. So action argument number 5 and a composable. So I can use that argument after title. So title is the first argument. The second argument I'm going to put here is action. Okay, and I want to use an icon button. So icon button, and if you look at the online documentation, we are required to put the on click, lambda, and the trailing lambda is the content. So trailing lambda is the content. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to show an icon, and icon has many different variants. I need to import. Okay, import, and now import again. I do want to import the composable. So there are many different variation. Okay, so one of them is image vector. And I can use some built-ins. I don't have to create my own image. So I'm going to just use the default one. And for this one, you can select one of them. I think exit to app is a proper choice of icon. So I can use that. And the icon takes 2 arguments. The second one is content description. Yeah. So if you remember HTML, whenever you put an image, it requires you to put an alternative text. So the content description is like alternative text. And now you see immediately the icon is there, right? To the right. Yeah, the icon is there. Yeah. Okay. Of course, it does nothing for this moment at this moment, but the icon is responsive to my click. In your handout, you see the code for bottom bar, but I'm going to skip one slide. I do want to show you how to work with styles, okay? Because currently the app bar has no color, right? The app bar has no color. So how do I change that? How do I change the style, the theme? So I never touched this file since the beginning. I teach this topic to you, but there is a file in your folder called theme. Okay, so again, if you look at the declaration, there's a function compose components demo theme. So this file is automatically generated based on the package, the project name that you selected when you create the project. And this function, this composable function, is actually used inside your main activity. So let me split that right so you can see both files side by side. So line 30 in main activity, compose components demo, is exactly this function that you see on the left side. Okay, so the declaration, the body of the function is quite complicated. I'm going to simplify a little bit. So there's an option. The function has 3 arguments: dark theme, dynamic color, and content. I want to keep the content. I want to keep the content because the content will be the trailing lambda. But I just want to delete this. I just want to ignore dynamic. So dynamic in Android 12 or newer, there's a feature that will allow you to automatically create the theme color based on like a background image that you use for your app. Okay, because we don't have the background image, then that option is not going to be effective. So what I'll do is I'm going to comment out this guy. Okay, I just want to use the dark theme and light theme. And because I don't use that argument, then I can safely comment out the dynamic color. Okay, but you will see here that there is a Boolean argument into that components demo theme, which called dark theme, and depending on whether dark theme is true or false, then this function will pick up different colors, color scheme, dark color scheme or light color scheme. Okay, so for now, I'm going to force the app to use light theme. Okay. Now, if you notice, with this option, with this theme, built-in theme, whenever you run your app during daytime and during nighttime, then sometimes you will see the color will change. Okay, this is because by default it will be using the current theme of your Android or your system. So if you want to force one or the other, if I want to force to use light theme, I can just say dark theme equal false. Okay, so now with dark theme is set to false, that means the effective color theme would be the light color scheme, which is up here. Okay, light color scheme. So I'm going to change. I want to see some background on my app bar, and that background will show up only when you enable the surface color. So I'm going to move the surface color up here. Okay. And now you need to import. Import. Now, I think this is a bug in Android Studio, but if you have a color, constant in your code, to the left of the gutter, there's a hidden button that you can click. I think it's a bug because usually in the past you will see some color in there. Okay, so let me pick the blue one. So as soon as I pick the blue color, then you will see the square. Okay, it was there, but I think it's a bug. Okay, so that's why you don't see anything in there. Yeah, you don't see it whenever you use color, it will show up. So let me change that. Okay, so that again, color, I don't know the name, the color constant, I just use 0 for now. But again, if you click on the margin next to the number, you can see when I hover your mouse, it gives you a hint, change color, and click that, and then I can change my primary color to lime green. Okay, so now if I go back to my preview, so if I rerun my code, Control R again, yeah. So now the surface, because I picked that color for my surface, blue, right? And now it shows up as blue. Okay, so that part is automatic, and this color scheme will make your app consistent. So you don't have to customize each button, each box, or so on and so forth. Just centralize the design choice in here, in your theme Kotlin file. Okay, and it will be effective throughout the app. Yeah, if I choose a different color, let's say I'm going to pick orange, then Control R, then the app bar background will be orange. Okay, so now question about app bar. So now let's add the bottom bar. So the bottom bar is more involved because the lambda is bigger. This is one of the part when the online documentation is not up to date. Their page will show you to use bottom navigation. which is the older library. Okay, so the new one is navigation bar. So I just type NAV, let autocomplete takes over, and navigation bar. Okay, and navigation bar is apparent for navigation bar item. So you will see the autocomplete, navigation bar item, navigation drawer item. So I do want to pick navigation bar item. Okay, and now if you can see, if you just hover your mouse, it will tell you that it's missing the 3 required arguments, selected, on click, and icon, right? So select it, on click, and icon. So I will just add, for now, I'm going to hard code Boolean false, and then on click, I'm going to put an empty lambda, and the 3rd required argument is icon. And again, I'm going to keep it blank for now. Okay, so now how does it affect your UI? So now you should see at the bottom navigation bar. Okay, it's there, but no content because I don't show any icon. I don't show any icon yet. So in order to see something in here, let me add an icon. So I'll just copy this guy from line 40, line 41, because what I need to do is just replace the icon name. So let's say I'm going to settings for my settings screen of our game, right? And pick that option. So now you see the cog icon immediately appear at the bottom. Okay, and you can also add a label if you want to add a label. So if you hover your mouse over navigation bar item, you can put a label, which is this function, this of argument. Okay, so I can add a label to my navigation bar icon label, and again this will be a lambda expression. You can just put a text, simple text, and now you see at the bottom of the screen both icon and label will show up. Okay, it's there. Okay, so you can replicate as many as you like, and again I do want to reformat by pressing Alt Command L, and I can repeat navigation bar item as many as you like. Well, the guideline says between 3 to 5, okay, no more than 5. Okay, so I'm going to add one more. And then did I place it in the right spot? Wrong spot. I placed it on the wrong spot. It has to be inside navigation bar. So it has to be between line 53 and 54. So let's try again. Okay, that is the second item, and let's call this one my game statistic. And I'm going to replace the icon with a different one. Let's use menu. That looks like a list. So now you see 2 of them at the bottom. The reason why they call it navigation bar, because the purpose is to allow you to navigate between screens. Okay? So before in your project, we are using buttons. We are using buttons in our screen. So now I'm going to use the button down here, the icon, the navigation bar item, to switch between one screen and the other. Okay. So how do I do that? Well, that means I do have to add a navigation nav host, right? Nav host controller. So this is the same routine that you had earlier. I already have 4 views. So I'm going to replace this one for now with my game screen. Okay. So my greeting, I'm going to replace my greeting with my game screen. So let's confirm that it still works without any issue. I just rebuilt, recompile. Okay, so now you don't see any output. The reason is because the text is hidden. I'm going to use a background. Okay, I'm going to pick like a yellow background. Okay, and at the same time, I'm going to make my column to fill the entire space. Fill maximum size. Okay, so the login screen is there, but the text is hidden, right? The text, this is game screen, doesn't show up. The reason is because of the inner padding that is passed from the scaffold. Okay, so when you add the top bar, the bottom bar, the padding of your content now will change by much. Okay, and if you don't use that number, then your text will be hidden. Okay, so because the text is somewhere behind that top bar, and to fix that issue, you do want to pass the inner padding to the topmost composable in your app. For our case, for this example, game screen happens to be the topmost. So I do have to supply the modifier here. Okay, and I do want to pass that number into the game screen as an argument, but currently my game screen doesn't take a modifier argument, so that's why it gives me an error. So then I do want to update my game screen to take a modifier argument here, and I just put a default constructor. Okay, so I know that can be confusing sometimes. So in Java, we're gonna write that line like that with close up with a pair parentheses, because this one here, the one under my mouse, is the type. Okay, and this one here is the constructor. But in Kotlin, you don't have to put the parentheses if the constructor takes no argument. So that now becomes like modifier equal modifier. Okay, but just realize that this one is a type, this one is a constructor. So I'll just continue with adding the navigation for now. Okay, so assuming that we can fix that later. So in order to create navigation, to allow navigation between screen, you do have to create a navigation host controller, but your code is not going to compile because you do need to import a library. Okay, so you don't see the autocomplete responding to my type, so we do need to import a new library, and I have to edit my build Gradle Kotlin script by adding a new one. If you don't remember the name of the library, you can make a educated guess. Okay, just by typing implementation and then just start typing navigation. So typically the autocomplete is smart enough to give you the option. So I just type navigation, and the library that I do want to add to my project is this one, Android X navigation compose. Okay, so let me just click that, and of course then you have to sync your project again. Okay, it is running. Now I can go back to my main activity. So I do want to, well, before I can use navigation of controller, I have to create navigation controller itself. So let me call it navctrl, and there's a function, remember nav controller in Android Jetpack Compose. So I have that. I'm using the double autocomplete. And then I can use my navigation controller inside my nav host controller, and then again let me autocomplete nav host controller, which is the second one or the third one or this one here. So any one of them should work, but I do want to use nav host with two arguments, which is the navigation host controller and the start destination. Okay, so let's say my start destination is the login screen. So that's what I'm adding. Okay, and now you know the routine. Once you have the navigation host controller, then you can add individual composable, not that one, composable, which is a function, and you just label, you put a label on each destination with a string name, and then I need to import that, import extension function. Now I can use my login screen in here. Okay, so I can replicate the other 4 or 5 or 3 or other destination. Just copy and paste 1, 2, 3, and I can add one for my game, which is the game screen. I can add one for my settings, which is the settings screen, and I can add one for my stats, which is the stats screen. Okay, so now you see that inner padding is a warning. We don't use it, so we do want to use it inside the topmost. So now my topmost component is no longer game screen, but my topmost component is nav host. Okay, so I do want to add the inner padding as a modifier. Again, if you hover your mouse over the nav host, you should see that modifier is one of the options up here. So let me change this to a bigger screen again. So yeah, so modifier is the third argument from the top, and I can now use the inner padding in the modifier of my nav host. Modifier padding, inner padding. So the error should disappear now. Okay, no error. So my destination, my landing page should be my login screen. So let's confirm that. Okay, I see some text. This is game screen. I think it was a copy and paste mistake. So let me fix that. Yeah, it should say login. And in my settings screen, it should say setting. And in my statistics screen, it should say statistic. Yeah, I created this file by copy and paste. Okay, so now you see the output is now game login screen. So I'm going to skip ahead. So you know how to add the navigation button at bottom navigation. So let's say I skip the authentication, right? You already know how to do the authentication, but let's say from here I do want to switch to the other screen if I press one of the icons at the bottom. Okay, so how do I do that? How do I control the navigation from the bottom navigation? So if you go back to the main activity, we do have the two items. We do have the two navigation bar item, but the onClick currently doesn't do anything, right? So this is where I can put the code. Whenever that button is clicked, I want to navigate to the other two screens. And I already have the navigation controller, okay? But because I will use the navigation controller inside my onClick, that means I have to move the declaration of my navigation controller to a higher spot. And the proper spot, this line between line 40 and line 41 is a good spot. So I move it there, and now in my action, in my button here, I can say onClick, nav controller, navigate to settings, And likewise, in my on-click of the second navigation bar item, I can say nav controller navigate to statistic, which is the destination. Okay. Settings, yep, I have the two correct. So if I run again, so you see the login screen. Ideally, we do want to authenticate with user and password, but I skip that process. But if I click the setting, it will take me to the settings screen, as you can see from the title. And if I click statistic, it will take me to the statistics screen. Okay, so navigation works. Okay, question about if I do want to add the button, so just to make it easy for us to see what's going on, I'm going to add a different background color to each one of them. So I'm going to add background. So let's use blue for the login screen. Let's look, maybe cyan, lighter, okay. And then let's use yellow. And I'm going to place it inside a column. And I'm going to apply the modifier to the entire column. Modifier background. Color, let's use light gray for this one. And for the statistics screen, I will do the same column again. And I'm going to apply the modifier background color orange or something. Magenta. Okay. And I have to import. So no error. So if I do want to navigate from login screen to the other one, let's put a button here, and the on click will say button on click, and the button will say text sign in. So sign in button is there. Now, because I'm going to call the navigation controller from here. That means I do have to supply that navigation controller as an argument to my login screen. So let's add an extra argument. I call it NC, and the type will be nav host controller. That will allow me to navigate from here and see navigate to the game. But I will get an error because this guy is asking me for the argument, and I'm just going to create a new one. Navigation host controller. I just make a shortcut. Remember, navigation host controller. Okay, so that will take care of that error. And then Command B, Control R. There will be one more error because I do have to pass the navigation controller from the composable when I call login screen. So Command R again. Okay, so we are at the login screen now. Yeah, this login screen. If I click the sign in button, it will take me to the game screen, and at the bottom of the game screen, you will see those two. But of course, I think the design is incorrect, right? Well, let's add another action to log out. So I don't have that action. So the exit button doesn't do anything. So I can change that by adding another lambda here, which is nav controller pop backstack. Okay, but now you will see that the UI, the screen design is incorrect because we don't want to see the navigation bottom, the bottom navigation when on the login screen, right? So we have to fix that. Okay, so then to fix that, basically the work that you have to do is just move the scaffold from here into another function that will be the parent of line 78 to line 91. Okay, so I will skip that part. I think that part is just a matter of organizing your code